Right, so I have built my company to the point now where it's generating about 20 to 30 qualified sales calls every day without me having to lift a finger and without me having to run ads. No, I do not have a course or a 997 course or a free training webinar to send you to. This video is going to explain to you how I've built my company to the point where we can predictably introduce 20 to 30 new qualified prospects to our calendars every single month. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to cut a clip in now to explain and just show you like how many appointments we're actually generating. So if we take a look at the calendars, this is one of my sales reps, fully booked for the week. This is another one of my sales reps, fully booked for the week. And this is another one of my sales reps, fully booked for the week. So right now we've got 3 sales reps basically firing on all cylinders. And if you look at our discovery call event, what you can actually find is there's no times available. So now you've seen that, you should have some faith that I kind of know what I'm talking about to some degree. My name is Charlie Morgan. I've built and scaled 2 companies, an agency to 7 figures, a coaching business to multi-7 figures. Now I help people with client acquisition. Like I said, I don't want to try and sell you something. I don't need the money. I just want to help people on this YouTube channel. And that's really what I'm here for. So in this video, what I'm going to do is basically explain the 4 points of focus and what I work on a day-to-day basis to make this happen. And also I have one other point of focus that I used to work on that I no longer need. It's all very important stuff. I really hope it's useful to you, and I genuinely just want to help you and just deliver value so that you can, in some way, shape or form emulate the success that I've been able to accomplish. Just so you know, all of this stuff has worked for me. I'm not saying it will work for you, it might not, but for me, it's helped me grow my business massively to the point where we now do $300,000, $400,000 a month without me having to do anything, which is a position that I'm still in a little bit of disbelief about. But anyway, really exciting stuff. I'm going to cut the clip in. Let's go for it. All right, let's have a gander at this, shall we? So just to once again tell you, just so you know that I'm not capping and being sus here, not being a sussy chungus, right? You can see these messages from my sales reps. This was actually from today. Sebastian's like, let's get 4 clients today, and Jack sent his calendar through, and then Sebastian sent his calendar through, and I was like, do you know what, actually this would make a good YouTube video, because we kind of get used to just seeing that, and it kind of just doesn't, obviously it's great, but when you have a full calendar, you kind of eventually just sort of oh yeah, it's just the calendar's full, that's just what happens. But I know that for a lot of people, that's not normal, right? So I figured that it might be useful for you guys to understand how we've arrived at that. So this is something that we do, it's currently working for us, and this is how it works. So I see my business I'm going to call these points of focus, right? So what we want to do is we want to know, right? Because to accomplish what I've accomplished with appointments, I've done certain things, right? So you and I, it depends. I don't know how many appointments you've got. You might have 10 a day. You might have 1 a day. You might have none, right? The difference between a business like ours and a business that doesn't book appointments is what we focus on, right? And how well we do the things that we focus on. So it's you've really got every business owner has the same 24 hours in the day and pretty much the same amount of energy and we all have the same amount of time, right? Energy is a bit different because someone could have whooping cough and not be able to get out of bed, which would be bad for them. But you get the point, most people have the same amount of time and energy. So it just comes down to a question of what you choose to focus on and what you choose to work on and how well you choose to do when you work on those things. And so really our business over the last 2 years since we started this has really had 5 real key points of focus. So there's really 4 that I'm working on at the moment, but there were 5 that I were working on before. So I'm going to sort of just draw it like this. Let's just sort of do this. So the first one, and what I'll do is I'll sort of detail these out and then I'll explain them as I go. So the first one is the price. The second one is another P. The third one's a T, and this is a C, right? And then there's another one here, which I'm going to call O, right? And I'm going to reveal these as we go through the video. My little retention strategy for you. So the first thing that we focus on is our price. And one thing that you have to recognize as a business owner is a lot of business leverage you have in terms of how much money you can make is going to revolve around the price. And I learned this from Alex Hormozy. If you just you want to conduct this thought exercise, right? Because your business should be a vehicle to produce value for people, right? And a lot of people price around what they think people want to pay instead of pricing around what they think people will pay for what they get, right? So I've started to re-engineer my pricing, and I'm in the process of doing that and seeing it differently, where instead of trying to like price competitively or charging less, I'm trying to think like, how can I charge more but justify that with increased value? Because people buy things that are valuable regardless of how much they cost, depending on the market you're in. So an example of this, a thought experiment that I've been conducting a lot recently, is if I had to 10x my price tomorrow, what would I have to add to my product for it to become valuable to the point at which that would be justified and the value would exceed the price, right? So this is something that I focus on a lot, a point of focus for me, because you can get a massive amount of leverage in business. If you can double your price and in the process increase the value to the point where it still is way more valuable than the price, then your sales conversion rate and appointment booking rate in theory stays the same. Because human beings, we do not make decisions based on the price, we make decisions based on the value. And the value is like, what do I actually get for the money I spend? So I'm sure you've bought something for $100, like let's say you buy a $100 course online, right? And it's not very good. Like, would you rather buy a $100 course that doesn't solve your problem, or a $10,000 course that genuinely like is guaranteed to get you to, 30 grand a month, right? It's like the difference between that is that the price on the 10,000 one is way more expensive than the 100. But if you were certain that the 10 grand one was definitely 100%, 1,000,000% going to get you to 30 grand a month, and it was guaranteed and there were just some crazy offers in place, you'd find the money to buy it. More so than you would about the $100. So the first thing you can focus on as a business owner is your price. Just if you increase your price, everything in your business gets better. The value of the product gets better. Your profit margins get better. The emotional commitment of your market and the people that buy it get better. And so if you're competing with other businesses in your market, let's say you're in a marketing agency or a coaching business, if you're charging the same thing as everybody else, you immediately look similar to everybody else. But as soon as you double or triple or quadruple the price of the average competitor, then suddenly it forces your market to see you in a different way. And it forces you to start thinking, fuck, like, how can I actually like justify this price? And how do I keep people on board? Like, what would I have to do if I 10x the price? Okay. So that's the first thing that I focus on is price, because you can get a huge amount of leverage because, we can hire as many sales reps as we can, but like, thought experiment, right? So I've got 3 sales reps that are fully booked. I want to, if I want to, let's say I'm, right now we're doing about 300 grand a month, right? How do I get to 600 grand a month? Well, I could hire 3 more sales reps and take more calls, or I could just double the price and double the value or triple the value. And then you might think, yeah, but surely your sales conversion rates wouldn't be as good because the price has gone up. But it's the thing, it's like, where there's a will, there's a way. And until you've tried it, you won't know. So I'd rather like double the price, keep the same operational complexity we have without increasing it. And then obviously that's the philosophy that we're following, and it's working, right? And we're sort of introducing some new programs, a new program coming. It's going to be very sexy. Don't worry, I'm not here to sell it to you. But when we do that, the price will resemble the true value of the product, which will be significantly, the value will exceed the price. And so really like the key point of focus here, the thing that feeds the price, right, is the second thing, right? And this is the thing this is the main thing I focus on, and this is product, right? So let me ask you a question here, right? How many hours of your week have you spent this week working on the thing that you sell to people? That's a genuine question. It's a rhetorical one because obviously I'm talking to a camera and I'd be a bit terrified if my camera could speak. But like, how often do you actually spend on your product? Like, how many hours have you spent in the last week? How many days have you spent in the last month? Like, sat in a room actually looking at your product and thinking, how can I improve this? How can I make it better? And the answer is not enough, because you can never spend, there's no amount of time you spend on your product is ever going to be wasted, right? So to put it into perspective, I am currently building a module for a new program we're releasing that helps coaches, consultants, and agency owners make client acquisition easy. Once again, you can't buy it. It's not, there's nothing to buy, so I'm not pitching you. I know we're all sensitive to pitching in this space, don't worry. But the point is, on that product, on the first week alone, the first week of training, it's called Acquisition Genesis. It's a foundations module. It's taken me 600 hours to make, right? So I spent about 8 weeks on it, 6 to 8 weeks on it, locked in a room for about 10 hours a day, right? Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday. So but people don't, right? It's like, if you want client acquisition to be easy, product development has to be hard, right? So there's a direct relationship here in your product where if you want, to generate a shit ton of appointments, right, and you want acquisition to be easy, then it kind of, that you have to get a sacrifice from somewhere, right? So in your business, you can either find acquisition easy and product development hard, or product development hard and acquisition easy. Does that make sense? So like the harder it is for you to build your product, right? The better it becomes, the more valuable it becomes, because the more time and energy you put into it. And what I found building products is all a product takes for it to be improved is just to put more time and energy into it. Now there comes a point where if you're building something like a SaaS product, adding more and more features reduces the value. And if you're building a course, adding more and more content takes away the value from the things that you need to focus on. But my point here is like most people, they build their product and then that's it. And then they just sell it. But it's like you need to constantly go back and look at the product, because like I can tell you, like if you look at like my YouTube channel, and if you look at like if you go to our website, for example, right, and you look at the results page, one of the main reasons people schedule appointments with us is because of the results. And this is a page of results that we've had for clients with the product we sell, and it just goes on and on. And like I'm not going to keep scrolling because it just goes on. But my point here is like if you want client acquisition to be easy, if you want sales to be easy, if you want everyone to show up, right? If you want appointment booking to be easy, if you want everyone to know who you are, then it helps to have a product that allows you to facilitate an offer that is so different to the market and so far forward and advanced. And, you know, you have this competitive, like confidence is a competitive advantage. And confidence is the easiest way to manifest a huge amount of that across the entire market is to create an insane offer. One that is so good that someone can't say no to it. And the only way for you to do that with confidence and not shit yourself at night when you're worried about refunds is by having something that can actually support that offer. And that's your product. And so like this is what goes back to the pricing thing. It's like price is a huge leverage point in business because you can double your prices and double your revenue. But the only way you can justify doubling prices is if you massively increase the value in association with that increase in price. And you can't do that if you don't work on the product, right? So everyone, you know, sits here. If you really want me to tell you the secret to booking 20 to 30 appointments a day, it's just having a really good product and then giving the market like a year or two just to recognize that. That's kind of it. Now the third point of leverage here is team, right? So I've sort of learned this the hard way, right? You should never try and do everything yourself. And like we're at the point now where we're doing multi 7 figures. We want to try and get to 8 figures. We're probably going to do that in the next, year or two. And like, if you're at the point where you're starting a company or you're doing like just below 6 figures, team doesn't matter, right? Team starts to matter when your energy and time starts to saturate because, you start to burn out because you can't do anything. As soon as you can't like focus on the product and make the product the main thing, like as soon as the product starts to sacrifice because you're doing other things, that's when you should start to hire a team, right? So like the first team members you should build should focus on creating or hiring are people that support the client acquisition systems you have. And you should never outsource sales or you should never outsource product development until the point where you're doing so many sales calls that you can't work on the product, right? So teams are pretty self-explanatory one. If you have talented people, you're going to have talented execution, which obviously is going to result in like a business that works. But like this is where we get a lot of our leverage. So I spend lots of time ensuring that our team is trained properly. I spend lots of time vetting team members and making sure we only hire ones that are good. And really, like I can give you some transparency on this. So our business, in the last month, we've signed about 50 clients. And our current, I'm not going to reveal our current price point actually, but I can tell you that right now we're doing around $300,000 to $400,000 per month, and this is, by the way, in lifetime revenue. It's not in cash collected, so it's usually about half or 60% of this in cash collected. Just so I'm being candid and transparent with you, I don't want to pretend I'm doing something I'm not. So we're doing around this in lifetime and maybe 150 to 200 or so in cash collected, right? So we're still at multi 7 figures, but not at the point where we're making 400 grand a month in cash. I want to be honest with you, because there's not enough of that these days, as I'm sure you're aware. So to support this level of growth, right, the team is really lean. So we have one operations manager, right? We have one appointment setter, and then we have 3 sales reps, right? I'm not supposed to say sales reps, but it doesn't look like sales reps. So we have one operations person, one setter, and this person does support and coaching and some other stuff as well, but just operations of the business. The setter does some outbound setting, and the 3 sales reps close the deals, right? In addition to that, I have like an editor for my YouTube videos, right? And then I have someone that does the thumbnails. But I wouldn't really count them. They're part of the team, but they're like contractors for individual projects. So I wouldn't really say that they're team members, if that makes sense. So in the reality of this is that like I can operate a 300 to 400 grand a month business with a team of 5, right? And that's obviously I'm on the team. So there's 2 partners. There's me and my business partner, Bo. But all we really do is the product, and we make decisions on the price, and we hire the team. So to actually execute on the tasks that need to be executed on for the company to run, we only need 5 people, right? And what that allows us to do is accomplish a disgusting margin, right? A disgusting profit margin, which we can then take and reinvest back into the product and, use to improve the client experience. And that's how you want to see a business, right? Is you want to see it as a feedback loop. And what that means is that, like, you want to see your product as a feedback loop. So every time you sell your product, you want to take the money you get from the sale, take some of it as profit because you deserve it, you're the business owner, but take a lot of that money and pump it back into the product to improve it, or pump it back into systems and removing yourself from your business so you can continue to work on the product. So sometimes it's a question of buying things for the product that make it better, or buying courses or buying knowledge, but a lot of the time it's just buying your time back from the company with the money you get from the sales, so that you can then go and continue to work on the product because you're the owner. Ultimately, you're going to be the person that can improve the product the most, especially if you're selling some sort of consulting deal or, the service revolves around you, right? So that's the thing with the product. So the team's the big leverage point, right? Because I can tell you now, if you just hire like a couple of really good people, you're going to do well. Now, here's the thing, right? This works in a linear order. It's really hard to have an extremely talented team if you haven't got a really good product and a really good price at which for them to sell it to. Because if there's no money to be made selling for you or acquiring for you, because 80% of our team is acquisition. If there's no money to be made, or if the people, like talented people, don't like being Machiavellian. That's a very broad generalization that might be wrong to a degree. But like what I found is that good sales reps and good appointment setters, they want to close deals and set appointments for a product they know is truly going to help someone. And truly talented sales reps are more motivated by transforming people's lives than they are just cashing in commission checks. And so if like the reason that our sales reps are so committed to us and so fucking fantastic is because they love the product and they genuinely know if someone buys the product, it will completely change their life. And so they have no problem, right, demanding high prices because they're selling something they love and truly believe in. And so if you want to attract a good team, it really just comes down to having an insane product. So everything sits on the product, right? The price you charge and the value you can deliver and the price you can command in representation to that is dependent on the product, right? The team, right, is built around the product. You can't have a good team without a good product, because I'm not going to name names, but I've seen instances of people who compete with me who have shitty products and their team members don't stay around. And then the team members come out like a month later and say, hey, I was working with this person, but I couldn't do it anymore because it compromised my moral status. When that starts to happen, you're going to win because the competition's obviously making some mistakes, right? And, never underestimate your competitors, and I'm sure they're fine, whatever. But you see the point. It's like, how are you going to retain top tier talent for a company that's geared towards acquiring clients consistently if the people acquiring those clients don't feel like they're actually helping the people who they're selling, right? And then the fourth one that I'm currently focused on is content, right? Now, content's the thing that I'm least focused on, because at the end of the day, like, I want to spend most of my time with my clients, not my audience, because I know that by doing that, my audience will grow, right? So this is a really important lesson in critical thinking for anyone that wants to build a personal brand. It's like the second you spend more time on your personal brand and content than you do on your clients and the content for your program, that's the second that the scales start to tip against value and you start to lose, right? I want to build like a long-term audience that surrounds me based on my reputation of being able to constantly deliver for everyone that works with us, right? I don't want to build, like a lot of people build an audience and then they build a product around that audience. I want to build a product and build an audience around that product, right? Like the audience should come after, if that makes sense. And so like one of my focuses at the moment is content. It's like, how can I produce, great YouTube videos that truly add value? How can I produce assets and things, pieces of content that allow us to, leverage social media algorithms and polarize people towards familiarity with Imperium so that they can become, encircled in our content machine and eventually purchase from us. And that's why I make these videos, right? I make these videos with the genuine intention to serve you, but I have the personal incentive to make them because I know they help me make money. Like, it's very hard as a human being to truly be selfless, right? It's near impossible because of the way that the human mind and the human condition is engineered. So I want you to know that I'm making these videos because I do genuinely want to help you. But in the process, I know that by helping you, I'm helping myself, right? And that's just the way of the world. And I'm not afraid to admit that. So that's the points of focus. Now, what I can tell you, right, is that these four things, they all sort of... No, I thought I was going to draw a swastika for a second, and that would have been bad. These 4 things they don't look like a swastika, I promise. I'm not a Nazi. These 4 things are the things that I focus on, right? So my day consists of not so much the pricing, because you make that decision once and then it's done. But my day right now consists of content, right, for the channel and for the brand, right? It consists of product, which is how can I just improve the product to the point at which it's insane, and it consists of team. Right. The other thing that I would focus on sometimes is systems, right? And what I mean by this is building a predictable way of executing tasks in the business that allows us to input a certain thing and output a certain thing consistently every time. So a system at its core is a set of processes that converts inputs into outputs with predictability. And so if you want to build a system, all you have to do is look at the inputs. If you want to build a cold email system, right? You're inputting leads, right? Email addresses, and you're outputting appointments onto a calendar. The thing in the middle is the process that converts that, which is typically the connection of your stimulus, your cold email stimulus, to the human mind and how that resonates, and then we get the appointment as a result. But I spend some time building systems, but once you've built good systems that last, they typically just stick around and don't stop working until entropy kicks in and you need to address them. So I don't spend too much time with systems anymore. Honestly, 80% of my time right now is spent on the product. And then, 20% is on the team. I'd say 70% here, and then 10% is on the content, really. Content's my favorite thing. I find it really fun to do. But the other thing, right, this is the last thing. This little box in the middle here, right, is the thing that glues all of this together. And it's something that I was focusing on. I don't do it anymore, but it was something that I had to do for the first really 18 months in business in order for me to get to the point in the position that I'm in now in the market, where I've got a content machine that allows me to build a brand and an inbound system. I can charge high prices. I've got enough people that can buy my products, and I can actually hire a team. There's one thing that I did for 18 months, right? And that thing, drum roll please, is outbound, right? And outbound is painful. It's the unsexy thing that people don't enjoy doing. But for about 18 months, all we did is outbound, right? And I started building a YouTube channel about 18 months ago, but I knew that YouTube would take 18 months to really start growing exponentially, which is what I'm experiencing now. So I was pretty bang on with the timing. But until your inbound systems can support your growth, you need to do outbound. Let me say that again. Until your inbound systems, your organic appointment booking systems, your inbound systems can support growth, you need to do outbound. I see people starting YouTube channels that don't do any cold email. So it's you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because I'm telling you, an inbound system takes 1 to 2 years of raw consistency and high volume and value to really work. And so it's important, to remember that you need to sustain yourself and survive, until your inbound machine sort of takes off. So, I would do, for about 18 months, we did 100 emails a day, and we did around 50 messages a day on cold messaging. And we were able to typically generate 15 to 30 clients a month with these outbound systems. We were very good at outbound, bear in mind, very fucking good at it. But I want you to realize that the position I'm in now is not the position that you will find yourself in for a long time unless you do outbound for a long time. So I actually did this myself, even though I was running a 7-figure agency at the time. I didn't have to run it. There was a team in place. But I did all of the outbound. I did all the sales calls myself, right? I did all the outbound myself. I sent all the looms. I sent all the cold messages. I did that for about a year and a couple of months. And, it was painful, but it built the business to the point where we had 100 clients. And then we started generating 3-4 calls a day from YouTube. And then over time, we naturally stopped doing outbound. We still do it. We've still got an outbound setter. And he does lots of good work for us. But now it's really just all about the content. And I'm finally in a position where I can literally generate 25 appointments a day just with one setter, at one outbound setter doing 20 messages, 30 messages a day, maybe a little bit more than that. But one setter, and then the YouTube channel and the Facebook group and the other inbound stuff we have going on and building, that's enough to sustain 3 sales reps and help them feed their families, which is freaking cool. So I wanted to make this video because like I said, I want client acquisition to be easy for everyone, and it's not as easy as just here's a piece of email copy, off you go. You need to know what to focus on. We all have the same amount of time and energy in the day, and where you put that time and energy is important. You'll notice here, I don't do Snapchat. I don't have a fancy podcast. I don't have a proper website. I don't have a business card. I don't like post on social media outside of stuff that adds value. Like, you know, I'm not buying watches. I don't have a Lamborghini. I don't live in a penthouse and I don't flex on people. I don't have like I've got a girlfriend. She's wonderful. I don't go to the club. I don't do anything except from these 4 things. And the consequence of that is that I sacrifice a lot in my personal life, but I gain so much in my professional life that gives me so much meaning and value. I finished interviewing a client of ours called Ethan Welby. You might be familiar with him. He took his agency from $2,000 a month when he was starting to multi-6 figures in about 10 months of working with us. And that's what I live for. And putting myself in a position where I can do stuff like that for people brings more meaning to me than buying a Lamborghini. So like, you know, I don't do anything else. Like, I see people doing all this bullshit where like, you know, they're focusing on like, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy like this thing and I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. And then I also need to make sure I'm doing this as well. All you need to do is like, just wake up and do outbound every day for like a year. And then whilst you're doing that, create content like 2 to 3 times a week for a year, work on your product every single day for a year. And then, you know, charge a higher price than everybody for a year and then start hiring a team to run the thing for you after a year. That's literally the playbook. And I know that sounds simple. There's a lot of nuances and pieces of information you need to have to make that happen. But on a core skeletal level, this is all I've done. All right. So that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do want to check out what we do at Imperium, you can click the first link in the description. It's a video, it's a funnel, right? It's designed to sell you something. I'm not here to try and funnel you through to something, but if you genuinely are struggling to acquire clients and you want them, but you can't get them, then you can click the first link. You don't have to, I don't really mind, but it's there if you want to. Like the video, because if you liked it, then YouTube will show you more videos like this that you're going to like. I do read a lot of the comments, so if you want to comment any ideas or questions you've got, I'd appreciate that. And subscribe, because, well, the cool thing about this channel is it's suddenly just blown up. We've gone from, I think, 3,000 subscribers like 6 weeks ago to nearly 10,000 now. And that makes me really excited and happy. So if you want to be part of the movement and you know, join the club, then I'd love you to do that. So we'd love to have you. See you later. Have a good day. Ciao. Mwah.